Good afternoon, everyone. Looks like it's 3 o'clock and it's time to start. Still a few people coming in, so I'm expecting quite a good turnout this afternoon. But obviously, for some reason, people do get here late. Just a few things about the session this afternoon. It is recorded, so we'll be making that available with a download link tomorrow afternoon, or no, tomorrow morning. And everyone who has attended or who paid but couldn't attend, you'll all get that link, and then you can watch again in your own time. All right, there is a question box that you can type questions into. I see some of you have found that already. I've had a couple of questions come through. If I can just ask, there's also a little place where you can raise your hand. If the sound is okay, would you mind just raising your hand and just letting me know that that's okay? Okay, I see quite a few hands up. That's great. That means at least the system's working from our side. And the recording always has better sound than what you pick up listening on the other side. All right, I'm just going to put all the hands down. Okay, if any of you have got microphones and you would like to ask questions as we go along, you're welcome to actually just pop a message into the question box letting me know you'd like to speak, and then I can open up the mic and you can speak. Otherwise, fire your questions away as we go along, and we'll take breaks at intervals and just deal with those questions. All right, what we're doing today is we're looking at preparing annual financial statements with HelpMate. Now, we have been through this very quickly in one of the previous webinars, and I had requests from numerous people to say, please, can we do this again and do it maybe over 2 sessions, which is what we're going to do. Today is going to be the very basic one. Really, we're just going to go through the HelpMate wizard and see how we get financial statements out. We'll probably do that in half an hour, and then we'll just carry on with questions and dealing with maybe slightly more complex matters. And then next week, we'll look at the more in-depth, more advanced things that you can do with the financials, with the formulas coming through from HelpMate. So let's make a start here. All right, this is the HelpMate launcher. This is where you start working on a client. I've just made some changes to this launcher just today, actually. We've added a button here just to clear the recent list. So when that list in front of you gets a little bit long of the recently opened folders, you might want to clear it. You just click on that. Are you sure you want to clear? Yes, and they'll all be gone. Because this really is just a list of recently opened files. Okay, let's start with, we start as if we're working on a brand new client. We have also this week released some new templates. So there's a few changes to those templates, and we'll be working on the latest ones here. So let's start with a new client, and we'll just give this one a name. Let's just call it RTM Demo 2015. I always like to put the year as the last 4 characters there, just so that we can easily identify which year's financial statements we're dealing with. And just notice that this new folder that we're creating will be created as a subfolder of this, what is called the default folder, okay, which will normally be on your C drive. It is, generally speaking, better to work on your C drive. It's quicker. You can work across the network, but it is quicker and it is more stable to work on your own C drive. So we'll create a new client here, and immediately that AuditMate opens, it starts the HelpMate wizard. Okay, this wizard you can get to by actually clicking on the Help tab and this button over here. It would start the HelpMate as well, but when we start a new client, it automatically starts. And the first question it's asking us is for a template or the source folder for this new client. So in this case, we're going to be looking at working from a template. So we'll just take this audit one as an example. If you were doing this as the next year of an existing client that's already been done. So let's say you're a new employee in the firm, somebody else did the job last year, and now you're doing it this year. Instead of working from a template, you would probably want to select the last year's client folder. And you could do that. You just click on this little folder here. You then go to the Clients tab. You'll say OK, and a list of those clients would come up. Then you could go down, find the particular client, and choose that one. And that would then copy from your existing client into this new folder. In my case, RTM Demo 2015. It would make an exact copy of everything that's in that folder into this folder, and then you would work with that. You'd balance it forward and you would carry on with the job. But this time we're just going to start with a template. So let me go back and choose the templates. And I said we're going to take the audit one, and then I'll click on next. Okay, it tells me a whole lot of files copied across. These templates have actually got quite large now. There's 124 files in there. You know, Word documents, Excel documents, the database that goes behind this. All right, when it's copied across, you'll see the name comes out here. Just you then know that things have worked, things have copied across. Okay, this one we're going to call RTM Demo Pty Limited. Okay, these dates came across from the template because that's what the template is set up as. So you would change these if you needed to. Change the registration number, whatever it is. And being a wizard, you just click on the next button. And this HelpMate is there to guide you through the accounts preparation system. And we've tried to provide help along the way. So there are two places to get help. Okay, in the HelpMate wizard as you go along, or on this training button up here, you'd also look at training, and we have an accounts preparation PowerPoint presentation, we have one on auditing, we have one on balance forward, the various, and we keep adding to those. So you could use those at any time to help guide you through the system. We've got quite a few new users here with us today, and this is where you should start. You should start with accounts preparation. If you've got two monitors, it's great. You run that on one and you do it, and you go through the PowerPoint presentation and do the work as you go along. If you've only got one monitor, well, you then just have to flick between them. All right, but we built some help in as we go along. So what the HelpMate's asking us now is about importing our accounts into the system. Because obviously we work from a trial balance, and our end product is the financial statements. Now, in between that, there's a whole lot of stuff we have to do. And specifically, we have to take the trial balance, and each account we have to assign it to lead schedules. Now, that's in the next step. So let's get our trial balance in now. Most of you are working with Pastel. So we have a little help here on how you get your Pastel trial balance into AuditMate. It's a PowerPoint presentation, and as you go through it, it will tell you, okay, in Pastel, you're going to go there, you're going to go to the general ledger, financial reports, trial balance. You don't send it to the printer, you send it to an ASCII file. Okay, that's a file that the computer can read. You'll save it. Pastel will do an export. It takes that trial balance and it saves it into that ASCII file. And then you come back into your HelpMate and you click on that Import Pastel button. And this shows you how to do it. I'm going to stop here because we're going to do it. So let's click on this Import Pastel button. Now you can import from other sources as well. You could import from QuickBooks. We've got one from TazBooks. Not sure if anyone uses that anymore. And we've got a very common Excel import. So if you can get your trial balance to Excel, you can import it in here as well. And we'll have a look at that one just now. But let's go with Pastel first because that's the most common one. So in Pastel, we exported the file to an ASCII file. Oh, sorry, exported the trial balance to an ASCII file. Now we've got to tell AuditMate where's that file. So we'll go and we'll find that particular file. Now I've got it stashed away here. So I select that file. If I want to have a little look at it, just a sneak peek, I can click on this button. And that way I can see what's going to come in. And I can see whether it looks right or not. Okay, we've got, and the trial balance for Pastel always comes out in this order: last year, account number, account name, debit and credit. Okay, and obviously in the last year column, the credits are minuses because that's the standard that's used in all accounting software, and debits are pluses. So we can have a run through this and see, now, do these numbers look okay? Now, things can go wrong at this point, and I was on the phone with someone earlier today, and because it was a new computer, new setup, new Windows, some of the settings in Windows were not correct. And so there were numbers that came out here when Pastel exported it that were 100 times greater than they should have been. And that was a Windows setup problem. But we can identify it at this point because obviously, if this screen is showing numbers that are incorrect, it's going to import the incorrect numbers. Again, the problem there wasn't with the import, the problem is with the original data. So it's always a good idea to click on this little button and have a look at the original data. Just see whether it looks reasonable or see whether those numbers look right to you. Okay, now to actually do the import. Okay, what do we want? We want this year, obviously. And we're doing this client for the first time. We're also going to need the last year figures. And this button this tick box here is interesting. Overwrite accounts. It's very important. And I'll show you why. Every template that we supply already has a standard Pastel trial balance in it. So if we click up here, you can just see in the background there. There's a trial balance, and those account numbers, you'll notice those are standard Pastel trial balance account numbers. And we have already taken that standard trial balance and we've assigned it to lead schedules. And this is the whole key to getting these line items into the financial statements, is going through the lead schedules. Now, obviously it takes a little while to assign all those leads. And so we've made this an optional thing to overwrite. If you click on overwrite the accounts, you lose all that mapping. If you don't overwrite the accounts, then it keeps the mapping, because what it does is it actually updates the figures in this trial balance with your actual trial balance. If the names change, it changes the names. If the account doesn't exist in this trial balance, it will add that account. Okay, but you're going to be able to retain the mapping, which is quite handy, and it's a big time saver. So we're not going to tick to overwrite the accounts here. All right. Then the other one, don't zero accounts. This is a more advanced feature, and it applies if you're going to import multiple trial balances. For example, if you're going to try and do a consolidated set of accounts and you've got 3 or 4 trial balances that you're going to bring in, then you need to be able to use that box. But for this basic thing, we don't need to bother about that. Okay, so what's going to happen here? We're going to be importing this year and last year into our existing trial balance here. Let's see what happens when we do it. Right, let's have a look at the trial balance now. Click on this button, and you can see here's our trial balance, and here are the numbers. The numbers have come in. Okay, at the moment we're showing inactive accounts, so all the 0 accounts we're showing. If we untick that, we'll see only the accounts that have got values in them. And you can see that every account has been assigned to a lead. Now those were the assignments that we did on that standard set of accounts. Okay, there are a couple of little issues with this, but we'll pick those up later. Okay, so we've got a trial balance, and we've got numbers in this year and last year. If we just look at these columns a little bit, the first column here, is the opening balance. This is the column that was imported. The column next to it, adjustments, that would be any journal entries that have been put through, and obviously the closing balance would be the 2 added together. Same thing with last year, except we've got opening last year, we've got adjustments for journals last year, and last year is the 2 added together. Now, these columns can be edited as well, manually. So if I double click on it, I can change the value that's in there. So if you've got a very short trial balance, you might just want to enter it manually and not even import it. That's why we've got a standard pastel trial balance to start off with, so that you could just enter it manually. All right, one thing I want you to notice on this pastel screen was this button here that said undo import. Now, there's a good reason that that's there, because so many people have done an import and then realized, oh no, I was working in the wrong client. Okay, so if you just click on undo import and you click on yes, there we are. We're back to our trial balance before we did the import. That can be a lifesaver. Right, so we've seen how to do a pastel import. I'm going to close that down now, and we're going to have a look at the Excel import. Okay, with our Excel import, we can take any Excel spreadsheet that is a trial balance. Let's see if I can find one. Right, there's one. Okay, it looks similar to a pastel one, except if you remember in the pastel one, column A was last year. In this case, our last year is in column F and G. And we even have a blank column in between. It doesn't matter. As long as we can split up the columns according to what is asked for here. So we need to be able to specify the column that's the account number, the column that's the account name, a debit and a credit for the current year, a debit and credit for the previous year. Okay, if we can't do a debit and credit, separate columns, it's okay. It's okay to have them in one column with the credits as minuses and the debits as positive numbers. In which case, then we'd only specify the one. We'd only specify the debit one. Okay, the other two, for the lead and the disclosure item, those are two separate things. They're really for unique circumstances where people have created their own Excel exports from their own accounting software systems, where they've then specified the lead that's going to be imported as well. Okay, but if we go to our trial balance here, let's just make this a bit smaller. Okay, we're dealing with column A being the account number. Okay, that's already in there. Column B is the account name. Okay, C is the debit for the current year, and D is the credit for the current year. Then we want to tell it that the debit for last year is F. Okay, it doesn't matter if we use small letters or big letters or capitals. Okay, so we specify what those are. Again, we've got this option to overwrite accounts. Now, you need to just think about whether you want to do that or not. In this instance that we're looking at, we've got account numbers that are actually standard to a pastel set of accounts. So I'm not going to overwrite the accounts because I don't want to go and have to assign all those accounts to leads again. I'm going to shortcut the process. Okay, we'll just close that spreadsheet. And we will now click on process the import. Okay, did you notice there's an undo button there as well? Okay, so if we get it wrong, we've got the undo option. It's there, but it's actually also somewhere else. It's here on the home tab under the undo. Okay, and you might notice there's the undo import. Similarly, if you balance forward the wrong set of accounts, you can undo a balance forward, you can undo a replication and an integration, and even the and this is another option just to clear your account balances. Okay, so we imported then from Excel. There we go. Here's our trial balance. There's our numbers, and our leads are still assigned. Right, one thing to check when you import the trial balance is that it zeros at the bottom. Obviously, if it doesn't zero, there's something wrong, either with the source or in the import process. So if we wanted to check, let's say we had this trial balance imported now and it didn't add up, we could go back to our Excel spreadsheet and we could have a look at this and say, no, all right, let's see where the problem arose. Is the problem with the import or is the problem with the source? So we could just highlight all that. And let's see. I thought we'd be able to just look at that sum there, but we can't because the columns are separate. But here's see those numbers have just been typed in. So we could just add up the column. Yeah, just copy that one across and see, yeah, those columns add up, so we're good. Right, if they were out and our trial balance was out by the same, we know, the problem is at the source. It's not at the import stage. So it's a bit of auditing, going back and finding out where the problem lies. Okay, but we had a good import there, so we can now move on to the next step. The next step is now that you have the account balances, they must be assigned to leads. Now there's a PowerPoint that shows you how this works, all right? Or we can just go and look at it ourselves. Now on the left, we have all our lead schedules. On the right, we have our trial balance. We have two tabs here, accounts and unassigned. If we go to unassigned, that would show us any accounts that we imported that haven't been assigned to leads. Okay, all the other ones we know they have been assigned. So we're good on this one. These, we've got 2 accounts, but they didn't have any balances in. So we're okay. We don't even need to assign those. It doesn't matter. If we needed to do some lead assignment, let me show you how we would do it. We look at our trial balance and we start off with income. So let's go into our leads. We press the Y button and it's going to jump down to Y. Because we first select the lead on the left, we double click the account on the right and it will be assigned to that lead. Okay, or we press enter, it will assign it and it will move down to the next one. Okay. We get to cost of sales, we select cost of sales on the left. Now you'll notice that under the cost of sales we've got some sub-leads as well. Now, it's kind of a rule here is those sub-leads, they exist for a reason, in that it's through the leads that the numbers get into the financial statements. So generally speaking, if there's a sub-lead, it means that there's a place in the financial statements where that sub-lead has been linked. And so one should really apply or should assign accounts to sub-leads if those leads are appropriate. So for example, depreciation. That's a good one. There's a sub-lead for depreciation under cost of sales. There's also a sub-lead here for depreciation under operating expenses. So you have a choice. But here's our depreciation. And you'll notice that this one, which was from our standard chart of accounts, has just been assigned straight to operating expenses. Now that wasn't good, because it means that in the financial statements where we've got that depreciation figure, it's going to be linked to lead Z002.02. And if we don't have an account linked to it, there's no number going to come through. Okay, so this depreciation should actually be assigned to that sub-lead. So I'll double click on it and you see it now got assigned to that sub-lead. Okay, same story with director's fees. There'll be a sub-lead for that somewhere. Let's have a look. There's the director's emoluments. Okay, and this one is actually assigned to that sub-lead. Okay. Okay, let's just stop at this point. There is a question here about the import, so I'd like to just go back to that. Let's go back. We can always go back in the wizard. You see, we can go back to the import there. Okay, so Adrian wants to know, or asks if we can just do an import where the debits and credits are in one column. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, let's go back to that Excel import, because that's where this would happen. Okay, in a pastel import, it's already predefined, so we're only dealing with the Excel import. Let's go back to that document that I was importing from, and let's just go change this. So we've got, okay, let's take the this year figures, and let's just make a column here that has, it will be equal to plus that minus that. Okay. Right, so there's our combined column. Okay, so that's column C in this case. Let's just let's save this. Now, okay, so for this year, we're going to be bringing in column C, and for last year, it's going to be G and H. Okay, so column C and G and H. You'll notice I only specified the debit column to bring in. Okay, because it's only column C. Want to go back and just have a look at that? Sorry, let's just move that out of the way. Bring that back so you can see more clearly. Okay, so account number is A, name is B, the debit will be column C, okay, and the credits are as minuses. Nothing for the C column, and then G and H will be those two columns. Okay, in AuditMate, we actually only have one column for each. Again, what it does is it takes like G and H, it just does G minus H and puts that into the last year column. Okay, save that and let's do the import. Run through. Okay, we came up with a message here. Okay, and this is, it's because of the column that I created. So there's a problem with the source here. We'll see now. If we go look at the trial balance, we don't balance up. Okay, we don't balance up by the profit because there's an extra line in the import. Let's go back to our import again. Sorry, this is what happens when you do things live. There you go, slightly wrong, but there is a reason that row we don't need in our import. Okay, because that's just the net profit. That's the sum of those lines above it. And we actually need this down here though too. I thought we copied that all the way down, but we didn't. All right. Okay. Let's see. And this was G and H. Okay, let's try again. There we go. And we've got zeros. Our profit figures, they look all right. Cool. Okay, any other questions on the imports while we're just here? You know, this is a thing that it can get quite tricky. Pastel Evolution, for example, it will do an export to Excel, but it always combines the account number and the account name into one column. So first you have to get into your Excel and go and split that out, and you use text to columns to do that. So it's a case of working with the Excel data first and getting that in a state that you can import it. Now, if you guys have got hassles with that and you need help, as with anything else, just pick up the phone and phone us. We've done it hundreds of times. We know where the problems are, and we can help you get that sorted out without you wasting time. And it's a quick thing for us to do. Okay, a quick one, importing from QuickBooks. Okay, QuickBooks, I love QuickBooks, and I use QuickBooks for my accounts. So I will show you, there are two options on QuickBooks. When it comes to doing the import, there's importing from the customized report that you can create in QuickBooks, or there's importing from the trial balance. When you do the customized report in QuickBooks, the help will show you how to do that. You're dealing with a this year and a last year. When you're doing the trial balance import, you're only dealing with this year. It only shows the debits and the credits. I'm not sure that I have a trial balance here to do this. So let's look at the help on the subject. Okay, this is a little difficult to see. This QuickBooks, this was the 2004 QuickBooks, can you believe it? But it's the same in the 2012 QuickBooks, and probably even in the newest one as well. But you just go to Reports, Accountants, Taxes, Trial Balance. All right, and it's going to give you a trial balance. You would click there like last financial year, or usually you'd be doing last financial year. So you'd click on last financial year, and there you would have it, and you'd see what the dates are, and you'd have two columns, debits and credits, and you'd have the account names. Now the trick with QuickBooks is you don't have to use account numbers, but in HelpMate you do have to use account numbers. Okay, so we've built it in that when you import, account numbers are automatically created for you. Okay, so but in QuickBooks, you would then do that file into a CSV file. You would save it, and then you would come through to the QuickBooks import. Now, when you do the import here, you would select the file. Okay, so there's a trial balance one. Click on trial balance there. And again, you select this year. I don't think you could do last year on a trial balance, so you wouldn't bother with the last year. You've got the overwrite accounts button again. And then on the right-hand side here, we've got there, because I said we need to have account numbers. So let's start at 100 and we'll increment in tens so that the first account that gets added will be account number 1000. The second account that's added is 1010. The third account is 1020. And it just carries on doing it like that. Sorry, someone asks here, can you only import QuickBooks if you've got the QuickBooks program? Well, no, because if your client has the QuickBooks program, they can save that trial balance into an ASCII file, and then they can send it to you and you can do the import. Okay, there's an alternative way as well, is that they could save their trial balance into an Excel file. Then you could take that Excel file and you could put in account numbers, and then you could use the Excel import. So things are completely flexible, and you should be able to get a trial balance from any accounting software and be able to import it into here. I just want to see if I do have no, I don't. If anyone would like me to go through this again with a real QuickBooks file, we can do that at the beginning of the session next week. Just let me know, just pop me an email, or just put it on the question box now, and we'll do it a live one. I'll generate one for next week. All right, let's see, where are we? We've got a trial balance. It's got lead schedules. We've assigned it to leads, and we're moving forward in the HelpMate. Okay, next step in the process. Okay, what I like to do is, now as I've got that trial balance and I've assigned it to the leads, I'd like to see in a draft form what my income statement and balance sheet is going to look like. So we've got these two buttons here. All the buttons that you see in the HelpMate are just shortcuts to buttons that are available on the toolbar anyway. So for example, this reporting one is under accounts reporting. It's the same thing. These two drafts are under here, these drafts. Okay, I think they're the PDF version. So if I click on draft income statement, I'm going to see now what this draft income statement looks like. This is just the numbers straight out, assigned to the leads. It's got the detail, but I can get an idea of, have I got the leads right, you know? Or maybe when I was doing the lead assignment, just by mistake, I put one of these expense items to fixed assets or something. Okay, I can just go down to the bottom. I can look at the profit figure. Okay, does that agree? Both years, does that agree to my trial balance? Okay, yes it does. So that's one place I can check, and I can actually just look at those numbers and see, now, does this look right? And by looking at things as you're going along, as you building these financial statements, as it were, if something goes wrong, you find it earlier, and then you can fix it before you move on to the next step. Okay, if I've got stuff assigned to the wrong leads, I only pick it up when I'm doing the financial statements right at the end. Sure, I can go back and I can change it, and it will filter the way through. But it's much better if I do it as I go along. And I'm also, in doing that, I'm getting a feel for these financials. Because when you've just got the trial balance presented to you, you don't know, you have got no feel for what those financial statements are going to look like for the results of that company's operations. You only get that feel as you go along and you build these financials. So it's a good idea to take a look in this way as you're going along and get an idea. Okay, like I said, there's the trial balance, there's the profit figure, okay, for the 2 years, this year and last year. One thing I'll notice as I'm doing that, sorry, let me just go back to where I was. I'm looking at my draft income statement. Okay, notice this time it came up in the previewer on the right because I had the index open. I look down at the bottom, I see, hey, there's no tax expense being put through. I need to put through the tax. Okay, so I know that I'm going to have that adjustment to make. And so maybe I should look at doing that adjustment now before I even do the financial statements. Okay, how would I do the tax in this? I could go down to I could go to the tax calc, open that up. Okay, this automatically pulls through and it does the calculation for me. So depending on what small business, normal, if it's normal, it's going to be 41,000. If it's a small business corporation, it's going to be 5,000. Okay, so I've got a quick tax calc. If there are adjustments, I could put those numbers in here and come up with the right figure. And then quickly put through a journal entry. So it's 530810. Okay, let's go to my journals, insert a journal. Okay, tax calc. Okay, so I'm going to debit. Now, I can search through these accounts. If I click on the account name, in fact, all the way through the program, you'll notice on any of these list boxes, if you click on the name, it will sort by those. Okay, so if I then look down, I'm going to find tax. Okay, in this case, I'm actually looking for normal tax. There's normal tax, that's the expense. Okay, and it was 530810, I think. 530810. And insert the other side of the entry. So tax payable. And we're done, 530810. Okay. Just a note on this. When I do a post and close here, it will probably happen too quickly for you to see. But the program goes through the trial balance. It looks at that adjustment column and it zeroes it all out. Then it will go and post each journal entry. And does that any time you press post and close. So it's not going to double up the journals. It's not going to post them twice. It's going to first zero them and then it posts them. We have a look here. Let's look down at, there's our normal tax. There's the debit and there's the credit. Okay, if you want to actually have a look at that account, you can go over to this side, click on Transacts, and you'll see the transaction. Okay, close that down, and let's go back and look at, remember where we were now. We're looking at our draft income statement. Okay, now what I want you to notice something is that I put through that tax journal. It doesn't appear in here because this is just a printed PDF document. If I want it to appear in here, I need to print it again. So either I can double click on here, say yes, and now there's our tax. Okay, and our profits obviously changed. Right, let's get back to our HelpMate. Okay, through the wizard a bit. So we've done that. We were looking at the draft income statement. We can have a look at the draft balance sheet. Okay, just eyeball this. Does it look right? Things in the right place. Okay, now that looks good. So we'll carry on, and we'll click on next. I'm going to come back to this reporting later. Okay, we've got two little boxes here, rounding and error checks. Okay, rounding, let's deal with that first. Rounding is basically taking the cents off and rounding it up or down to the nearest rand. One doesn't have to do that. If you don't round it, then all those cents will go through to the financial statements. But the financial statements are set up in such a way that you don't see the cents. So they would still be there, but you would only see the rands part of it, and it wouldn't be rounded. Okay, in Excel, if it was 300 Rand and 52 cents, it's just going to show 300. If I've rounded it this way, it's going to show 301 because it will round it up. Okay, so it's up to you whether you round or not, but most people do. And the system will do it for you. Now, when it's rounding the trial balance, obviously it can get to a situation where it's gone through and there's a difference. There might be a couple of rand difference in all that rounding, and it needs to do something with it so that the trial balance still balances. So this rounding account is where that difference gets put, and usually this would be the bank charges account. When it rounds the previous year, it needs to put that difference, and it possibly needs to put it through the retained earnings as well. So we've got the retained earnings account there to handle with the last year rounding. And if you have this specified here, then it does another check as well. And what it checks is that last year's opening retained income plus last year's profit is equal to this year's opening retained income. You'd be surprised how often this message comes up because tax adjustments or something didn't get put through in the trial balance last year on the client side. And so the trial balance that you get from the client, the opening retained income account is wrong, doesn't agree. Okay, and that's the reason why that test is there. It's to alert you to that problem if it comes up. And then this, we've got 5 here. This is report rounding. If the rounding adjustments are less than 5 Rand, it doesn't tell me. If they're more than 5 Rand, it tells me. You can set that to whatever level you want it to be. But 5 seems to work quite well. Okay. Then we've got this one called error checks. Error checks, when you run it, it runs through your trial balance and your leads, and it does some tests to make sure that the lead exists if it's been allocated on an account and that sort of thing. So it's a good idea to just hit that button, and if there's any problems, they'll show here, and there'll be a fix on how you fix it. And now you're ready to open the AFS. So let's click Open the AFS. Right. First thing you're going to notice, particularly if you're new to HelpMate, is these blue lines. So what do these blue lines mean? And there seems to be a duplication up here of this wording. Okay, don't worry about it. If you look at the add-in, we're working in what is called revealed mode. There are two modes to work in. There's revealed mode and hidden mode. Hidden mode hides the blue lines. Okay, there are blue lines in terms of there are dark blue lines, okay, like that column, and there are light blue lines. The light blue lines, they are based on formulas or values that change in the worksheet. So for example, this blue line with accounting officer's report, that is light blue line because the page number is 0. And why is the page number 0? Because we don't have an accounting officer's report selected in this set of financial statements. One of the first things that we do when we come into the set of financials is we decide, well, what features do we want? So if we go to the add-ins tab, okay, this is where all the stuff happens. This is called the HelpMate add-in. Click on Layout and choose Annual Financial Statements. This is where you decide which pages or which workbooks you want to have in your set of financial statements. Most of them are selected just by default at the startup because this was the audit template. So we could end up with an audit report and a compiler's report, but probably not a reviewer's report as well. So we don't want the reviewer's report. We just untick that. If we didn't want the CA declaration, we could untick that. And yeah, let's leave it at that. Okay. Now, by unticking those, when I click Update, you'll notice just down at the bottom here, we've got CA declaration and reviewer's report. When I click Update, those tabs just disappeared. So they got hidden by the system. The system hides them. You want them back, you click on Layout, Annual Financial Statements, you tick on it to get it back. Okay, let's get the CA declaration back. There it's back. Okay, when it disappeared, the system set the page number to 0. And because the page number is 0, it put this light blue line in here, and that will not print when we do a print at the end of the process, or if we move into hidden mode. Okay, let me just click on hidden mode here and you'll see what happens. Those lines have gone. Right, hidden mode is like WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. Okay, let's come back into revealed mode so that we see everything. Best to work in revealed mode. And it's best not to delete rows that you don't want. So you say, oh, I don't want that accounting officer's report and that reviewer's report. Go delete those rows. No, don't do that. Okay, they're not going to print because they're highlighted in blue. But if your boss comes back and says, no, we need the reviewer's report, or we need the CA declaration, or whatever, all you have to do is go switch it back on. If you've deleted it, it's gone. You've got to now recreate it, and you could mess up formulas. So one of the rules is don't delete things. Okay, rather just put a print skip marker on it. Okay, now what's a print skip marker? Okay, let's find a place where we can use one. Okay, let's say we decide we don't want these lines. I can highlight these lines and I can click on this, and this set row it's print skip marker set for this row. If I click on it, it goes this dark blue, purple. Okay, that's a manually set print skip marker. The light blue ones, they're called conditional print skip markers because they're conditional on a value, and usually this a 0 somewhere. But the light blue ones and the dark blue ones, they do not print. So if you don't want something, set a print skip marker on it. If you then decide, oh, I do want it, okay, then you can just highlight it anywhere in that row, and you click on this button, remove row, and it will take the purple away, and it will then print. Okay, so step 1 in the financials, decide which pages you want. Switch them on, switch them off. Update. Okay, step 2. Let's go to the balance sheet. Okay, and a whole lot of numbers came through automatically. Okay, so they came through from the HelpMate trial balance, and they're based on lead schedules. If I look at this actual formula here, I'll see that the formula says AM leads, A13C. Right, what does that mean? Well, AM leads is an HelpMate formula, and it means it's looking for the total of the lead schedule referenced by A13. Now, A13 it says F000. So this is the lead, A000, and C is for the current year, and P is for the prior year. Okay, so that's, F000. If I go to HelpMate, if I go to the Accounts tab, and I go to Leads, and I choose F000, there's the total. Okay, closing balance. 119,490, 38,990. Go to my financials. 119,490, 38,990. Okay, that's what's coming through. So that formula looks at the lead. And these formulas are all the way in here. And we've got the blue, light blue lines. If they're 0, then it's not going to show. Okay, let's look at the totals of our trial balance and see if they balance. Uh-oh, they don't. Okay. 379 and 311. And we've even put a line in at the bottom that tells you whether it balances. Okay, now could be 2 reasons, or 2 very straightforward reasons why it doesn't balance. First reason is because the detailed income statement hasn't been created properly. So we go to the detailed income statement. The first thing that you need to do on a new set of accounts, not the first thing, because you first choose which sheets you want to see, but when you get down here is you go to regenerate. So you click the regenerate button, and you click the regenerate button again. Now what a regenerate does is it takes your income statement and it builds it into here. And extracts all those income statement accounts and puts them into the right place in the detailed income statement. And at the bottom of the detailed income statement, we should see what we do. We see a profit figure, and we can compare that profit figure to what's in HelpMate, make sure that it's correct. Okay, we can also go to the income statement, because there's a detailed income statement and there's a statutory income statement, and the figures should be the same, so our profits after tax should be the same, and we put in a line here, profit per the trial balance, making sure that those are the same. Okay, so there's checks and balances all the way through. You just need to be, you need to just have a system that you work with, so that you get the checks and balances, make sure that they're in place every time as you go through. So those are all right. Let's come back and see now, did rebuilding the detailed income statement fix our balance sheet? No, it didn't. Okay, now I know what the problem is, but we're going to discover, we're going to audit back and find out where is the problem here. Okay, because our detailed income statement's right, It flows through into our normal income statement. That goes through into the statement of changes in equity. That flows through into the balance sheet. And yet our balance sheet doesn't balance. Okay, what I like to do is work on two monitors so that I can compare things. And I would go back into our HelpMate and go back to this draft balance sheet. I'll start with the balance sheet because it's actually the easiest one to work with. But here's our draft balance sheet. Now let's compare what we've got in this draft balance sheet to what comes out in the financial statements. So we can start off with the total of the total assets. Okay, 379,858. Let's have a look at our AFS. And 379,858. Ah, we're spot on. Okay, and if we look at the breakdown of those numbers, we'll see that those numbers all tie up. Okay, so we're okay on that side of the balance sheet. So let's have a look now at the other side of the balance sheet. So let's run this one down. And let's go. Let's just get rid of this one. Okay, so now we're into the other side of the balance sheet. Okay, 1,000, that's our capital. Okay, now our retained earnings, that doesn't tie up. Okay, but that figure is actually the previous year. Okay, and there's the current year profit down here. Let's look at the next one. I see there's our 68,000 that we don't have. Okay, so that was a shareholder's loan of 68,000. And you'll notice it's allocated to the lead R000. If I look in here, it should be here, but we're looking for the lead R00002. And there's the shareholder's loan R00001. Okay, so in the balance sheet, we're picking up the sub-leads, but we've allocated the account to the main lead. So how do we fix it? We've got to go to that account and put it to the sub-lead where we want it to appear. Okay, so I would want that shareholder's loan to appear down here at R000.01. Okay, let's go back into HelpMate. Let's go find that account. We can go to the trial balance. Okay, there's a couple of ways to look for it. We can go by account name, and we can look for shareholder's loan. It's there. Or I could have clicked on this closing balance, and then I could have searched because it would put it in a descending order, and we would have found that 68,000. There it is. Now I want to change it. Okay, so I highlight that one. I click here, ticks and edit. And I go to that lead. And I put it to R00001. I click OK. Okay, pay attention to this. I've allocated it now to the correct lead. But if I go back into my Excel, it's not changed. Okay, if I click on recalculate formulas, it hasn't changed. Now, why hasn't it changed? Okay, Excel and HelpMate cannot speak directly to each other, unfortunately. So they have to work through what we call intermediate files. Now, when I close this trial balance, you'll briefly see a window flash up. Okay, that was the rounding the trial balance procedure. And what happens when it rounds the trial balance is it actually creates 4 files that contain information that Excel can look at. Okay, so those files need to be created. And when I closed that trial balance, they were created. Now, there's sometimes in the program where something might happen and those files aren't created. So we've got this little button here to just manually do it if you need to. If you click on that, it will round the trial balance. That creates those intermediate files. Come back into Excel. Now, it still hasn't updated, okay, because only the intermediate files were updated. When I click on Recalc Formulas, now Excel will go and look in those intermediate files and download them into Excel. Okay, so if you make a change while the financial statements are open, you might have to, well, if you don't see it round the trial balance, click on that little button to round the trial balance. When you come back into your financials, click on Recalculate Formulas. All right. If you had closed the financial statements down and reopened them, you wouldn't have needed to do a recalc because it does it automatically when it starts up. Okay, so here's a case now where we needed the allocation to be to the sub-lead as opposed to the main lead. Now if we look at our balance sheet, it balances. Okay, it's not out of balance anymore. And we did that by looking at the draft balance sheet and comparing to what comes out in Excel. Okay, that's a very good auditing principle when you're auditing these financial statements. Right. So now we've got a trial balance that balances. We've got a detailed income statement that's correct. We need to move on to the next step. We're running out of time, but at this point, all right, at this point, we've actually got a set of accounts excluding the notes. So let's click on, let's go to hidden mode. Let's go to hidden mode. I'll click on revealed mode. Everything will get hidden. And let's have a look at what these financial statements look like. Now, use the add-ins print button. So we click print, entire document, preview. And we're going to see now the preview come up on the screen of what these financial statements look like. Sorry, I just need a sip of water. Right, we start off with the cover page. Going on to the next page, there's our index. Now there's no blue lines in there, and those items we didn't want, they all hidden. Okay, I think it looks nice. Go through. This is a general information page. You can edit this exactly the way you want to. You don't even have to have it if you don't want it. There's a auditor's report. Okay, we might want to put a letterhead in there. We can do that. Let's get down to our balance sheet. Okay, you see those blue lines have all disappeared. That all closed up. We've only got the numbers that we want. Things tie up. The blue lines that showed us the check balances, they're not there, right? Because you don't want them there. All looks very nice. Now there's some tweaks that you can do here as well, and this is worth knowing about. Under the page, under show margins. Okay, it shows where the margins are on the pages. And if we go to, you see how close the 2014 column is to the margin. Go to the next page. It's nice and close. Okay, on the statement of changes in equity, maybe a little bit further away. So we can come in here and we can actually just change the final column sizes, even under the preview. Okay, that's a really useful feature. Okay, and then we've got the notes. Now we're going to want to build these notes. That's our next job. Okay, when we're working on building the notes, we need to be in revealed mode. Okay, so let's get back to revealed mode. See all the blue lines. And let's go to the notes page. Now, just the same way as we went to layout annual financial statements to choose which pages we wanted, in the notes, we have put in tons and tons of notes. Should be all the notes that you need for an IFRS for SME set of accounts for a SME. And the way that you choose which notes you want to use is layout, current sheet. Okay, we're on the notes tab, remember? So here now is a list of all the notes. Okay, there are tons of them. It starts off with all the accounting policies and then moves into the actual body of the notes. Here at property, plant and equipment, moves into the body of the notes. Okay, so you might say, whoa, how do I know which ones I'm going to need? Well, these columns are actually this year and last year columns with the amounts. Okay, so we can see goodwill is 0. Okay, we don't need a goodwill note. Okay, this is a note under the accounting policies, so we don't need accounting policies for these items. We might need for inventories because we've got inventories, trade receivables, cash, okay, leased assets, we don't have anything. So you can run through here and you can pick up from the amounts which notes you're likely to need, and then the other ones you can choose which ones you need. Okay, so we need property, plant and equipment. Let's have something for inventories. Okay, we've got this members loans. Let's tick that one on. Finance expenses, we might need that. Although something looks wrong there. Even when I'm looking here, I can see finance expenses and it's got a credit. Hang on, something wrong there. Probably interest income has been allocated to the wrong lead or something. Okay, so all the time I'm aware of these financials. I need to be in touch with them. They're telling a story and I need to listen to that story. Okay, so I think I've selected all the notes I need. I'll click update. And now all those notes will be visible. All the other notes, they're not visible. If I look at the row numbers, you can see here from row 37, it jumps to 54. That's because there's some notes that are now hidden in the background. Those don't need to print. Okay, now I can work through building these notes. Now we've made them as generic as we can, but obviously each client is unique. And some of that wording may need to change. Some of the extra details that go in there, you need to find that detail and put it in. But most things will come through, certainly the numbers. Like if we go to the property, plant and equipment, okay, the numbers come through. They pull in from the trial balance. If we go down to inventories, okay, if we've allocated to the lead for finished goods, then it will be here. Okay, and that lead was I000.01. That's how it's linked through with formulas. Now the formula linking is important because if I put a journal entry through my trial balance, the number is going to come through because there's a formula. It didn't just get typed in. If the number had just been typed in, then you would have to manually change that. So the formulas are the key to these dynamic financial statements. Okay, so I'll work through the notes and I'm going to change the notes, change the wording as I need to change the wording. And remember, if I don't want a line in, then I'll make it a blue line. For example, here in trade and other receivables, this provision for doubtful debts, I don't need that line because I don't have a provision for doubtful debts. So if I click anywhere on that line and then I click this one set row to make it purple, that's not going to print. Okay, now I can already see, okay, I want to show you this rather. Okay, so I've made that purple, that won't print. Let's go into hidden mode and see what it actually looks like now. Okay, now you can see it's got the amount, then it's got a subtotal, then it's got a grand total. Now it looks a bit funny. I don't want it to look like that. Okay, so I actually don't want this row to print. Now, I will highlight this to be purple, but because I'm in hidden mode, it's going to disappear straight away. Okay, so I click on set row, goes purple, and it disappears. Okay, there's still a line there that I don't want because there's an underline on it. So I can have a look and see now. That underline is attached to this cell, so I'll make this one purple now. It's gone, and I'm happy with how that looks. All right, if I come back into revealed mode, you're going to see those purple lines that I just set. Okay, now I could have set those lines when I was in revealed mode. I'm aware of it, but the point there was that I can tweak it at the end. When I'm in hidden mode, I can go and I can hide the lines that I don't want as well. Right. Okay, I think we've I've gone over the time, and I do want to be able to handle questions because I know that people need to go off. So I think we're going to leave it at this point, and we'll take it on from here next week. Is that okay with everyone? If you're okay with that, put up your hands. I can see you when you put up your hands. And okay, I see a few hands going up. Cool. More than half of you anyway. Okay. Right, so we'll leave it at that, and we'll just try and answer some questions that have come through here. Okay. All right. Just run through the updating of HelpMate. Okay. What we do, or what we're doing with this year's templates. Okay, let's just close down these financials, and if we just go back to our index, okay, you'll notice on this this line here, this line tells us which template this is. All right, and this is the IFRS for SME Audit 2015.03 template. Now we started off with the 2015-01 template, and that was basically, if we look here, it comes in this templates folder, and it is this template. Okay, that's the IFRS for SME Audit. That's the template that we're dealing with, or that we're looking at in the background there, and we're at the 03 version. We started off on the 01 version, now we're on the 03 version. Okay, what changed between 01 and 03? Now, I didn't used to tell you this in the past, but now I'm trying to tell you what it is. And so we've included this document here at the top, A000, which will tell you what changes we made. Okay, so if we look down here, on the 6th of May, we went to version 3. On the 5th of May, we went to version 2. Okay, so these are the changes that we made. In A100, which is the AFS, we made these changes. Okay, now this is based on things that users asked me for. In particular, the one firm, they said they would like to see these things in there. So under the general information, they wanted to see all those items. So we put those items in. Hopefully they're useful. If you don't want them, you can just put a blue line on it, and it won't print. You don't need to have it. In fact, the general information page is not a prerequisite. It's optional. You don't need to have the whole thing if you don't want it. Right, so this is changes that we made. In the audit report, we added some more. We used to just really have the audit report and unqualified audit report, but we've added in these different ones. I'll just show you them quickly because they are quite neat. So let's open these financials again. if we go to the audit report, okay, we can click on Layout Current Sheet. And there you can choose the different types. So it's preset as if you had an unqualified audit report. But if you had a qualified one, then you'd want to switch on the qualification, switch off the unqualified. And when you do the update, the rows that will appear now will be, here we go, basis for qualification, that paragraph that you can edit, and the qualified audit opinion. Okay. Take that off, switch that one back on. You'll see those paragraphs disappeared, and my normal unqualified audit opinion came back. So we did that on the reviewer's report as well. So current sheet, and you can choose which paragraphs you want. Compiler's report, we made a wording change. Members Directors report, we made a wording change. Directors Emolument certificates, we changed all that. And the management letter we changed. So this is going to be a schedule of changes that we make as we issue new templates. Now, the reason for doing this is if you attended one of the earlier webinars on customizing for your practice, is if you're going to customize our templates and like add in your letterheads and things like that, you would have taken our templates and copied them into a masters folder. And when you create a new client, you work from the masters folder that's got your letterheads in and things. When we issue new templates, the templates folder gets updated, not your masters folder. Okay? So by giving you the list of the changes that we made and the detail, you can decide how you want to update your masters folder. So you might say, wow, you made so many changes to the AFS this time. I'm just going to copy the AFS now from the templates folders into my masters and put my letterheads in again, because that's going to be the best way to deal with that. Where we made a change to like these directors emolument certificates, then you can just copy just that spreadsheet into your master and update your master like that yourself. What we did, if we just have a thing like that's just a wording change, one word changed in the compiler's responsibility, then you might just want to go into your master's AFS and just make that change yourself. So you now have the flexibility. You know what changes we made, and you can decide how you want to incorporate those changes into your masters. Future changes probably relate to new requirements and that sort of thing. So those will be highlighted in this document of template changes. It just helps draw your attention to things that have changed that you need to be aware of. All right. Johan asks, how do you get the new templates into old clients? All right, well, it's a good question, and I think we might have dealt with it in one of the other webinars. But if you open up your old client, let's see if I've got one that I can open up here. So let's take my old client. Is this maybe this 2014? I don't know. Yeah, this is actually, there was a template from 2014. Okay, so I might say, right, how do I get the new things in there? Well, it depends what those new things are. But we've got this button here, copy selected files. And what this will do is we'll copy from a source into the current folder. So I can select a source of a template. Okay, let's have a look and just see again what we got here. This was IFRS for SME review. Okay, let's go here. So we're interested in now the template that will be the 2015 IFRS for SME review. Now, unfortunately, there's no automatic way to do this, but we can select down the bottom here certain parts of things. So if we know, okay, the financial statements changed in the 2015 compared to what was in the 2014 one, and I want those AFS, then I can click on that button and process, and just the AFS will be copied across. Now, obviously, I'll lose the AFS that I had done before. So you've really got to want the change because you have to rebuild those AFS. Okay, and there's no shortcut to that. There's no shortcut to that other than what you can do with copy and paste then between the two. But if we had, say we had a whole lot of new audit programs, which we don't, then you would click on those audit-related things on this side, and you could copy those across. So that would be checklists and questions, sections, risks, and program steps. Hit process, and that would copy all those things across in bulk. Okay, if we had a whole lot of new spreadsheets, you could click on those, and a whole lot of new Word documents. So there's certain parts that you can bring across. Okay, now this would bring across all the program steps and all the checklists. If you only wanted to bring across some of the new questions that are in there, okay, we could even do that, because there we can go into this copy selected program steps. I think there is a change in section F. No, it's already there. Okay, that change was made some time ago. But if there were program steps, now this applies. Okay, we covered this actually in the customizing webinar, so maybe you should refer back to that for the detail. But you can go to any template or any client folder or wherever, and let's just take. And we could go to section F here, and we could run through this. Now, this would, if we wanted this step, okay, look, step 6 and step 6. Okay, the wording slightly different here. Okay, 25.3 of the Companies Act. On that side, I've just called it 25. If I wanted this step on that side, I right-click and I just choose Copy Program Step, and there it got copied across onto that side. Okay, and I might want to delete the old one. Gone. Okay, so I can even copy across individual program steps, individual questions, and checklists. Okay, but hopefully that document of template changes is going to be the thing that shows you what changed, and then you decide how you want to copy those things across, or at least be aware of those changes that we've made. Okay, I'm just looking at the questions here. Okay, we've got a question here that says, with QuickBooks, I understand entries can be deleted. Is this not a problem? Well, in a sense, it's a problem. In QuickBooks, it's a much more dynamic accounting system. I think it really suits a one-man practice or one-man business where you're maintaining the records yourself. And then you can delete entries and things. But there is a facility where you can you switch on what's an audit trail, and then it will show you any entries that were deleted or changed. So invoices were deleted, say. And then it's got other what are they, other settings where you can then not allow those things to be deleted. So that system can go right from a very basic bookkeeping system where you want that flexibility to be able to change everything and get it right through to where you've got different people using it even at the same time, and you can't change those things. It's a really awesome system. It suits me very much. It suits a lot of accountants very much in terms of write-up jobs and that sort of thing. Whereas, in Pastel, you can change things. You can put through a journal entry. You've got a trail of it. In QuickBooks, you would also have an audit trail of it too. Okay. Okay, question here. If you want to roll forward to 2015 and you want to use a new template, okay, what you do there is, now this is quite nice and easy. You do a new client, okay, so let's do roll forward 2015, and you choose the new template, okay, so we want to use our new IFRS for SME audit. Okay, but we want our figures. So now we've got the starting point here is the new template. Okay, at this point I will click on copy files. I want to now go to my 2014 client. Okay, so I'm going to look up my client 2014, and I'll only copy in these three things that are actually pre-ticked for you, which is the client details, the accounts, and the journals. Everything else is the new template stuff, so I don't want to overwrite that. Okay, so now I've got new template. Now I'm going to bring in old accounts. So those three items, hit the process, 5 files come across, go and have a look. There's my files. Okay, if I look at the client detail, there's my client detail. It tells me what year it is. And now I'll balance forward this one. So I go to accounts, balance forward, 2802.15. Balance it forward. All the 2015. Look at my trial balance. Okay, zeros for this year. Now I'll do the import. So what do I end up with? I've ended up with the new template, but the old client accounts now balance forward. Of course, my financial statements are now the new template, all in blank. I've got to go rebuild all those notes, which is what we'll look at next week. Okay, just more questions. Okay, Adrian's got a suggestion that when we look at those what's new on the templates, that we highlight what's a requirement and what's a nice to have. Okay, I'll see if I can do that. All right, let's see if there's any questions I haven't answered. I think I've answered the questions that are there. If anyone's got anything else they would like to ask, just pop that question through quickly, and we'll see what we can do. All right, I don't see anything else coming through. If you do have other questions that you'd like me to cover next week, let's get those through on the email to me during the week. If you're watching this webinar, the recorded one later, pop your email questions through, and we'll line them up either for next week's session, or I'll just answer them during the week if they're kind of more specific things to you. All right. I think that's it. I think we'll just wrap that up. Thank you very much for attending, and look forward to seeing you again next week. Thanks very much.